Hi guys and welcome to Crazy Pepper Revenge. This channel is all about crazy true stories, stuff that happens in real life when things get a little bit messy, people dealing with drama, cheating, lies, breakups, and even revenge. Some stories are wild, some are emotional, but all of them will keep you watching. If you like real talk and real situations, you're in the right place. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and stick around. This is Crazy Pepper Revenge, where the stories get spicy. So, this happened to my neighbor, but it's wild enough to share. Names changed, obviously. My neighbor Jim seemed like a regular guy. Worked construction, married to Melissa for 3 years. Everything seemed normal until about 6 months ago when crap hit the fan completely and absolutely destroyed multiple families in the most spectacular way imaginable. Melissa had this best friend, Linda, who was on her third marriage. Linda was always bragging about having multiple boyfriends while married, claiming it kept her desirable and that her husband fell in line because of it. Real piece of work who constantly filled Melissa's head with toxic ideas about empowerment and how she deserved more excitement in life. Linda would tell stories about juggling multiple lovers, joking crudely about multiple Johnsons and how it gave her fresh energy and made her feel alive. She'd brag about wild nights when her husband Mark was out of town, inviting multiple men over and claiming it was unbelievably exciting and good for her health and self-esteem. Linda insisted that eventually it would improve Melissa's bedroom life with Jim too, and that she shouldn't feel any guilt because this was about her empowerment. One evening, Melissa comes home all dressed up in a new form-fitting dress that emphasized her figure, makes Jim's favorite roast chicken dinner, opens him a cold beer, and drops this absolute bombshell. She wants an open marriage for 3 months, just to sow her wild oats and feel desired by other men. She said Linda convinced her it would be healthy for her confidence and make her a better wife afterward. Linda apparently told her that some men explode with rage at such suggestions, but that ultimately they'll fall in line once they see how desirable their wives can be. The whole thing was obviously planned. Melissa had been preparing this speech, practicing how to smile and speak gently while revealing her desires. She was so confident that Linda's advice would work, constantly replaying her friend's words. "You deserve more excitement, Melissa. Life's too short to be stuck in a dull marriage. A husband is fine, but you need to feel desirable. If Jim truly loves you, he'll adapt." Linda had even texted her right before Jim got home. "You got this, girl. Make him see that you're in control. He'll either fall in line or crawl back once he realizes how desirable you are." Jim didn't explode like most guys would. He just went quiet, stared at his half-eaten plate for what felt like forever, and said he couldn't stop her from being with other men, but he'd be moving to the spare room and wouldn't share a bed while she did this. He told her actions have consequences and that he wasn't okay with it, but he wouldn't fight her decision. Melissa was actually thrilled. She thought she'd won and that Jim would eventually crawl back, like Linda promised. She texted Linda immediately. "He didn't fight me, probably upset, but not angry. I think he'll come around. This might actually work." The very next night, she brings his coworker, Brian, home from some trendy lounge where she'd met up with Linda. They go to the master bedroom while Jim's supposedly asleep in the spare room. Here's where it gets absolutely twisted. Melissa actually made Brian wear Jim's underwear as some sick power move. She thought it was hilarious and empowering, like she was reclaiming control. They had loud night all night in Jim and Melissa's marital bed, with Melissa whispering that her husband was just down the hall. What Melissa didn't know was that Jim had installed hidden cameras and recording devices throughout the house the day after their dinner conversation. He recorded everything: video, audio, the works, every moan, every laugh, every degrading comment about him. He was methodically building a case. For weeks, Melissa kept bringing different guys home. Brian multiple times, some dude Logan that Linda was also seeing, and she even hooked up with her boss after hours trying to get a promotion. Linda was coaching her through it all via text, telling her she was empowered and in control, and that Jim would crawl back once he realized how desirable she was. Linda kept saying, "You got this, girl. Make him see that you're in control. He'll either fall in line or crawl back once he realizes how desirable you are." Meanwhile, Jim was methodically documenting everything: audio recordings, video footage, text messages between Melissa and Linda, planning their hookups and laughing about Jim's reaction. He also hired a private investigator who discovered that Brian was actually engaged to another woman named Dorothy, and that several of the other men were married or in serious relationships. But Linda started getting paranoid. Her own husband, Mark, was getting suspicious, and they had a nasty fight. She warned Melissa, "You better brace yourself. Jim might do the same if he starts feeling threatened. Don't underestimate him. When a man's ego is involved, even the nicest ones can become vicious." Linda also mentioned that her ex-husband had once threatened to install secret cameras or audio devices in her car, and that men talk, especially when they want revenge. But Melissa brushed off these concerns, thinking Jim was too gentle and stable to go that route. At work, things were getting tense. A coworker named Valerie, who always wore impeccably tailored suits, seemed unusually interested in Melissa and Linda's personal lives. She'd make snide comments about their extracurricular activities and warn them that people talk. Valerie seemed to know more than she was letting on. During lunch one day, Valerie approached their table with measured politeness. "Good afternoon, ladies. I assume you're enjoying your day. Talking about weekend plans with your boys again?" When Linda shot back, asking how it was her business, Valerie shrugged and said, "Just want to inform you that we all got an interesting email. Contains some explicit audio clips and a few steamy videos. Strange how they star certain people from this office." The color drained from Melissa's face as Valerie continued. "Oh, you haven't checked your phones yet? I guess your husbands must be more resourceful than you think. The clips are all over the building now. From what I hear, the mastermind behind all of this had a hidden camera in the bedroom, possibly audio from a phone left on record. The revenge was absolutely beautiful and perfectly coordinated. Jim compiled everything into a comprehensive file and sent all the evidence to Melissa's workplace HR department, Brian's fiancée, Dorothy, all of Melissa and Linda's co-workers, Linda's husband, Mark, the other guys' wives and girlfriends. The fallout was absolutely nuclear. Dorothy showed up at Melissa's office during lunch with a portable speaker and started playing the explicit sex audio in front of everyone in the break room. She called Melissa a homewrecker and detailed every single affair, including how Melissa had called her boss Sir during their encounter and how she was apparently sleeping with half the office. Dorothy screamed, "You all want details? Because I have it all." My fiancé's phone was synced to the cloud, and guess what? He recorded everything. Then apparently someone else also recorded the two of them from another angle. Maybe your precious spouse, honey. Either way, I've got all of it, in unbelievably graphic detail. She then started giving blow-by-blow commentary. She hooks up with her boss, apparently, and half the men around here. It's all on video. Did you all know she's a cheat and a homewrecker? When Melissa tried to deny hooking up with her boss, Dorothy hissed, "Oh, it is. I've got the date-stamped footage. You're in his office after hours. There's audio, too. You're calling him Sir. Maybe you were hoping for a promotion." A few employees snickered at this, and Melissa's face went scarlet with shame and rage. Melissa completely lost her mind and physically attacked Dorothy, pulling her hair and scratching her neck while trying to grab the phone. "Stop playing that!" she screamed. But Dorothy fought back, scratching at Melissa's arms. Security had to break them up, and the police were called. Melissa got arrested for attack and battery right there in front of all her co-workers, led away in handcuffs while people filmed it on their phones. The humiliation was complete and total. Both Melissa and Linda got fired immediately for violating morality clauses in their employment contracts. Their relationships imploded. Linda's husband, Mark, left her, Brian's engagement ended, and several other guys involved faced divorces when their wives got the evidence Jim had compiled. Jim filed for divorce immediately, using all the recordings and photos as evidence. Since Melissa had demanded the open marriage and committed adultery, she got absolutely nothing in the settlement. No alimony, no assets, nothing. The judge wasn't sympathetic to her extenuating circumstances and slapped her with a fine plus anger management classes for the assault charge. Here's the final twist that makes this absolutely perfect. Melissa got evicted from her new apartment when the landlord found out about her arrest record. She showed up at Jim's house at sunset, dragging suitcases behind her, begging to crash on his couch because she had nowhere else to go. She was crying, saying, "Please, can we talk? I have nowhere else to go. I messed up. I know you're probably the last person I deserve kindness from, but can I just come in? Talk for a minute? Linda's not my friend anymore. Please, Jim, I was stupid. I got caught up in the excitement. I believed all the nonsense about it being healthy. God, I regret it all." Jim looked at her crying on his doorstep and just said, "You should have thought about that before you turned our lives into a circus. Before you humiliated me, slept with half your co-workers, and let your so-called friend Linda run your life. You want me to just open my arms and say welcome back? That's not happening. He took one last look at her tear-streaked face, then slowly, deliberately, closed the door in her face and locked the deadbolt. She stood there with her suitcases in the porch light, finally realizing this wasn't just Jim being distant. This was final. Last I heard, Melissa was living in some shitty motel, working retail for minimum wage, and Linda moved back in with her parents after losing everything. Meanwhile, Jim bought a nice house across town, seems genuinely happy, and has been dating a sweet woman from his gym. The whole thing destroyed like 6 different relationships because Linda convinced all these women that having affairs would make them desirable and their husbands would fall in line. Instead, it ruined everyone's lives, except for the husbands who got their revenge. The aftermath was swift and brutal. Multiple lawsuits tangled around the workplace. The company faced negative PR but distanced itself by terminating everyone involved. Melissa faced not just divorce, but criminal charges, job loss, and complete social humiliation. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Don't screw around if you can't handle the consequences. Wife's toxic friend convinced her to demand an open marriage. Husband secretly recorded all her affairs and sent the evidence to everyone's workplaces and spouses. Wife lost job, got arrested, divorced with nothing, and ended up homeless while husband moved on happily.